Hello and welcome. I'd like to introduce to you our new v4.8 Advanced Waveform software release for our QX and QXL rasterizers. Available as a free upgrade to all customers. This video will give you a quick overview of the highlights of the release. Firstly, you can see here an output of our QXL rasterizer, showing 4 different instruments. The top left is our enhanced waveform analyzer, bottom left is the picture, data view is top right, and the vector scope is bottom right. As with all our QX and QXL instrument windows, you can right-click on them to bring up the context menu. As you can see here, there is a host of new features available in our updated waveform tool. With the new release, there are now 3 waveform modes available for RGB and YCBCR display: Parade, Stacked, and Overlay. We have added, in terms of trace color, the option to change the color mode. As you can see here in YRGB display mode, the YRG and B are displayed in their native colors. There is now the option to change the color mode to highlight, green, or monochrome. With this instrument, you have a wide grade of information available to add onto the waveform. On the y-axis, V-scale, you can choose to show the percent, hex value, decimal value, or millivolts. On the right-hand side of your y-axis, if you are working in HDR, you can choose to have the nits display on the right-hand or left-hand side. On the x-axis, H-scale, you can choose to have pixel numbering or percentage of the line. We've also introduced an enhanced choice of filters. Previously, you would have flat, low pass, and raw filters. We've now added technical and production. Technical is roughly equivalent to a Rec 601 type filter, which gives you full bandwidth with sharp cutoff. The production filter has less sharp cutoff, less ring, and is a better compromise for operational use. If you are interested in very detailed analysis of an image, when enabling the picture cursor, it is dynamically linked to the cursor in the picture instrument and data view navigation. Similarly, when clicking in the picture on a particular line and pixel, it's now reflected in the data view. When I now enable single line mode in this instrument, you can see I'm showing a trace just of this particular line on the cursor. You'll also notice the vector scope has now changed, as that's also showing the vector scope display of this specific line only. If I disable the single line mode, the vector scope trace changes along with the waveform. The vector scope and CIE chart will now follow what's being displayed on the waveform. All these instruments will track and show you the same information. The updated waveform instrument provides powerful tools to zoom and pan the displayed waveform for more detailed investigation. Using the HV magnification and HV position controls, you can locate an area of interest within the waveform. Once the zoom pan control is set to the type of zoom or panning, the action of the mouse scroll wheel is set. When you scroll the mouse wheel, you will either magnify the waveform in the selected axis or pan across the waveform vertically or horizontally, depending on your selection. This is useful, for example, when grading. You can zoom very quickly to the HDR highlight, or if you are in engineering position, you can look at the fine detail horizontally with the ×10 HMAG. If we enable single line mode, you can see very clearly the trace available. You can see that the vector scope is displaying information just on that specific line on the image. If I now change the filters, you can see the effect of these more visibly on the waveform and on the vector scope. It provides you with a very detailed look at what's going on. If I zoom into the waveform, you can mouse over it and it will tell you the information on a particular pixel. The tooltip here shows its value and picture position. If I pick up just the Y values, it tells you that they are on pixel 620, 27.8 nits, and digital level 579. If I head back to the data view analyzer, you can see I'm on pixel 620, digital level 579. You can see that the tooltip information around the mouse exactly match the information displayed on the data view. This shows you some of the technical elements and the more detailed analysis now available to you with the latest 4.8 release. Another new feature is the improvement in the bit depth of the instrumentation pipeline, particularly the waveforms. It's now a 16-bit input stage, with a 12-bit output. This provides you with much more fine detail on the output trace. With these improved brightness and gamma controls, you can now decide what part of the trace is of interest to you. With these controls, you are now able to bring out the information that you want to see in the trace. If I bring up YCBCR in parade mode and increase the contrast, you can start to see the outline of the images there. You can also have a flatter trace display. We've also added independent channel gain displays so you can get the best overviews of all channels if required. We've also provided, if you're working in HDR in particular, is an addition to the diffuse white marker, which is at 203 nits in all HDR formats. We now provide a peak white marker which is available at 1000, 2000, 4000 and 10,000 nits, depending on what you are working on. HLG, PQ, S-Log3, SR Live, all formats are supported. Whether you are working in SDR or HDR, these new features available and the fidelity in the new waveform instrument, combined with the connectivity of the tool here, provides you with a rich amount of information to deep dive into your content. The new release offers a great deal of flexibility in how you use the instruments for your specific application, be it grading, shading, engineering, or even in MCR.